Hi everyone, this is Ekaterina, and this week we have holidays in college, therefore I'm not going to be sharing any specific study material with you. However, instead I would like to tell you about my logo for this channel, so the little broken cup, explain what it is, and also tell you a story that is actually linked to this logo of something that happened to me in the past, and that particular event also was one of the reasons why I've decided to do counseling myself and now to also become a professional counselor. So my logo is actually inspired by Kintsugi, which is the Japanese art of putting broken pottery pieces together using gold. And I think everyone has experienced moments when you've broken a cup and then you're trying to put it together using a super glue and you're being super careful so that nobody could see those cracks. Especially if the item is not yours and you don't want the original owner to ever notice that you actually broken their favorite cup or plate or anything else. So here we are trying to hide those cracks. And Kintsugi is something about different. It's about putting items together, but actually making those cracks even more visible by applying a very thin layer of gold to cover those cracks. So this art is about 400 years old, and there's lots of stories as to where exactly it came from. But according to one of the stories, in 15th century, a Japanese military ruler had this beautiful Chinese bowl, and one day it got broken. So he sent it back to China and he asked for a replacement. However, they replied back saying that this bowl was one of a kind and therefore they couldn't find a replacement. Instead, they tried to put that bowl back together using a very similar technique to what now became Kintsugi, but they were just using different metals, not gold. And I think there's something actually beautiful about Kintsugi and in generally Japanese culture, whereby they value the marks of wear on an item. So the more the item looks used, the more it signifies that this item is loved. It's something that people want to use again and again. It might also show that the item has been in the family for centuries or for a long time. And the fact is that also when it's broken, they don't just throw it away and get something new. They actually put it together and try to keep it and obviously make it still usable. And at the same time, as I said, instead of hiding the cracks and those flaws and imperfections on this item, they actually make it more visible. And I think there's something amazing about, in a way, saying that when you put things together, sometimes you get something more beautiful and valuable than what you had at the beginning. So you might wonder what Kintsugi has to do with counseling. The fact is that you can actually apply the Kintsugi philosophy also in counseling, because I've met numerous people who sometimes consider themselves broken, imperfect. Maybe they had made some decisions in the past that they are not proud of. Maybe they had lots of sadness in the past and they just cannot believe that somebody would love them for who they are. And I truly believe that when a person recognizes that there are some problems, that maybe they have some issues that they need to work on, and they actually start doing something about it, either doing it themselves by reading about this, doing different courses, actually approaching a counselor. As long as you work on those flows, you can become somebody so much more pure, beautiful in the end. Somebody you can be truly proud of, somebody you can love. And this is the reason why I wanted to have Kintsugi represented in the logo of this channel. I am a big fan of the art and even more of the philosophy, and I think there's something truly empowering and admiring about just accepting ourselves for who we are, whether we have flaws or limitations. It doesn't really matter. It's about really starting the journey to work on our problems, doing something about them truly, and becoming somebody so much more beautiful, valuable, and inspiring through this experience. And as I promised, Kintsugi is also linked to an event from my past that I would like to share with you. It's actually all started around November 2018 when I was trying to get over a very painful breakup. And I was 28 at the time, just about to turn 29. And I found this list that I have written many years before, and it showed all the things I wanted to achieve before I turned 25. Needless to say, I haven't done a single item on that list. And at the time, that made me feel even more sad. So I thought, I'm just about to turn 29, I need to start working on this list. And one of the items I had there was to go to Japan. So I decided to book my tickets, and I booked them to go for 3 weeks in Japan completely by myself in spring 2019. Now, I know online you can find a lot of information about how inspiring it is to travel by yourself and how much you can learn about yourself. And those are all partially true. But I certainly would never recommend to anyone to book trips to another side of the world when you are in such emotional distress. Nonetheless, at that time, I thought that maybe partially why I haven't achieved anything in that list was because I constantly waited for somebody to come to my life, solve my problems, be there to do all those experiences together. And obviously you cannot just keep pausing your life until this happens. And I also knew that at that time I could afford it financially. So it wasn't just a case of money. I knew I could arrange that time with work. So it was just me stuck on this idea that I couldn't do it by myself. And I decided to prove myself wrong. Therefore, I booked the tickets. Now, in the following months, I have planned a trip. And in spring 2019, I did fly to Japan. When I share this story with, my close relatives or new people I meet, they all say the same thing. Wow, that must have been so brave of you to do. And I do think that people traveling by themselves are brave. However, in this particular situation, I always tell the people, thank you for your comment, but actually it didn't go very well. Because as soon as I landed in Japan, I had one of the biggest panic attacks I ever had. I had experienced something similar in the past and later on, but that was really, really bad. So I already felt nervous during my flight. I haven't slept for over 1.5 days. And when I finally landed in Tokyo Narita airport, I also booked a capsule hotel, which probably was not a great idea for somebody who hasn't slept for a while, feeling very nervous, and suddenly to sleep in this narrow space in the little rooms or capsules in this hotel. So I ended up spending a second sleepless night. I couldn't eat anything. I was really feeling nervous. I was struggling with keeping my breath even. And I generally felt like any moment I could just faint. And I was really, really nervous, feeling suddenly really alone and realizing that if something were to happen to me, I am so far away from my home, from my friends, from my family. At that time, I was probably regretting the decision of actually flying all the way to Japan. And truthfully, if it wasn't for my friends who stayed on the phone with me with, I think it was 11-hour difference, but one after another, they all called me and they were really supporting me. And they said, you will regret it if you now pack your things and go all the way back. Because honestly, I was so close of just spending all my money on a return ticket. And last minute tickets are quite expensive. But with the help of my friends, I just started to do smaller steps. I got some calming medicine from the pharmacy. I pushed myself to eat a little bit. I had a little sleep on an uncomfortable bench in the airport. And then slowly, I also got to the hostel. I started doing the activities I've planned. And with every day, it became easier and easier. Towards the end of this journey, after 3 weeks, I really felt completely different. I was definitely feeling very proud for myself for doing this, but I also realized that this is not healthy. I do travel through work as well quite often, and I can say that even though my trips are much smaller, I would never want to have anything similar like this, either when I travel for work or for personal reasons, because it was truly a terrifying experience. And it just made me think that there was something obviously wrong with my emotional state, and that I need to start working on this so that this doesn't happen again, so that I can truly enjoy such trips in the future if I were to do it again. And yes, I think it was one of the first awakening calls to see that I don't think this is normal. I don't think I should have reacted that way to being so far away from home. And even though, yes, it is a normal reaction to be nervous, but I certainly shouldn't have felt it to the same extreme level that I had. And the reason I'm saying this travel was also linked to Kintsugi is because as a part of this trip, when I visited Kyoto, I wanted to see the Kintsugi art in real. And I found this artist who does work in Kyoto. It was only later on that I realized that he's one of the greatest artists in Japan, one of the last sort of professionals in these techniques of Kintsugi. But at the time, he just looked like a very kind gentleman, and with the help of his assistant who was translating for me, I expressed my admiration of Kintsugi art, and I also asked him if I could order a piece of art from him, because at the time he didn't have much for sale, and I think he generally doesn't do this on demand, but somehow he agreed to create a Kintsugi art for me. And we've chosen a pottery piece, and we also decided how exactly he's going to break it for me. So yes, you don't break the pieces. Obviously, sometimes if you have something broken, you bring it to them and they fix it. But at the time, as I didn't have anything, we've chosen a bowl, and I asked him to break it with a specific pattern. So in my case, I wanted it to have a single crack that then spread into two. And to me, that was representing the moment in my life when I was 19 and I've moved from Estonia to UK, because I know very clearly that at that moment I really changed my life, and it could have gone one way, but it went completely a different way. So there was something really amazing about this experience of trying to capture your greatest life moment at that time in a crack of a cup. But nonetheless, we've decided on the pattern, decided on the item, and 3 months later this item arrived by post to me. And the only reason I am not showing this today in this video is because it actually arrived broken. So yes, it was truly upsetting at the time. It was also funny that it didn't break at the golden pieces, so the other pieces broke, which in a way also shows how well the broken pieces were mended together with the gold, that they didn't break. But I know it's not the fault of the artist, it's just because unfortunately during the journey the item was shaken, maybe not handled correctly. So yes, it has arrived to me broken. But I think at the time I just accepted that, and I thought that only represents to me that probably right now I still need to work on myself. I'm still not there, and certainly one day when I feel much more secure, much more sure about myself, when I'll know that I've reached the stage of sort of being who I want to be, that day I will go back to Japan with that broken cup, and this time it will be put back together, whether by the artist or maybe I can even do a course myself and learn how to put it together. But one day I will put that cup together, and then it will have certainly an even deeper meaning for me. So I hope you enjoyed this story. I would very much like to hear what you thought of this. Have you heard of Kintsugi art before? Does it still make sense to have as a part of the logo, at least from your opinion? I know I'm keeping it there, but what do you think about it? So I hope to see you next week. Thank you very much for your attention. Please continue to follow the videos of this channel and please take good care of yourself. Bye bye for now.